Welcome back to the Prophets of IT, the show where we dig into real stories behind IT leaders, entrepreneurs, and advisors who are reshaping how technology serves business. I'm your host, Jim Punzenberger, creator of the Managed Prospecting System. At managedprospectingsystem.com, we're the only IT marketing agency that lets you write your own guarantee for us and help you escape the feast and famine cycles of referrals. Today I'm joined by Rowland, partner at Adaptiv Advisors and co-founder of Technology Advisory Alliance. Ryan's story is about bold leaps, like walking away from cushy corporate roles at Comcast, the newborn baby in the home, and to build something from scratch. He did it while traveling full-time in an RV during a global pandemic. That's grit and adventure rolled into one. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Jim.
So Ryan, let's start with your leap. What was it like to step out of the corporate life with so much on the line and build something new?
It was a little scary, but I also didn't really know what I was signing up for too. So I think there was a little bit of ignorance that probably shielded me. And um, it was tough. We made probably like every mistake you could possibly make, as new business owners and entrepreneurs, and add in the stress of being new parents to all of that. It was challenging. And then for reasons unknown, we decided that we would travel the country full time in an RV while doing all of this. And then, right as we embarked, the COVID-19 pandemic hit. So it was challenging. I was also holding down a W-2 job working remote at that time. My wife really was growing, and founding the business at that time. And yeah, it was challenging. We made a lot of mistakes along the way, but we got through it, had a lot of adventures, and definitely feel like we learned a lot and also felt like, as husband and wife and as business partners, if we could survive that, we can get through anything now.
Yes, I bet. So when you talked earlier, you mentioned you challenged the hustle culture mindset and have a philosophy I love, which is work should fund life, not replace it. Can you tell us how that guides you today?
Yeah. So our children are still young. They're 6 and 8. And we just try to be mindful of how quickly time moves and how short your time with your children living under your house is. And, you don't get to go back and take a mulligan on that. Um, and that was really what hit us when our second child was born. We were at the hospital, and I'm basically just like reviewing my work schedule, like, okay, I got 2 weeks of paternity leave left, and then I'm jumping on a plane. I've got all these meetings. I'm just gone. I'm going to miss, these formative days. And just kind of looking at each other like, that's not the life we want. This isn't how we want to be. This isn't how we want to raise our children. So we made that leap, and that's still very top of mind for us today. As we build our current businesses or take on new ventures, we really look at this from a lens of how does this fit into our lifestyle? Is this something that we can grow and scale to the point where we can, take a lot of this off our own plates and focus on our family? Or is this something that's going to require us to be strapped to our desks, manning the helm full time for 10 years? And if that's the case, then we walk away from those opportunities. And we've said no to several things that probably could have been very lucrative ventures, but they just didn't align with our ideals and the lifestyle that we want to have.
Cool. Well, on this show, we always love to drop truth bombs. And for you, it was the lack of awareness around the advisor model. Can you explain why
Mhm.
IT decision makers still don't know this option exists?
Yeah, I think the advisors, we haven't done a good job marketing ourselves out there. It's been it's been a group that's been fairly siloed. It hasn't been super collaborative historically. And I think that has really, hampered the growth of the industry. And that's something that we were trying to challenge and trying to sort of break the mold on, creating the Technology Advisor Alliance. And we have lots of success stories and white papers, kind of showing how collaboration and sharing
Mhm.
has driven tremendous revenue growth and awareness versus everybody kind of trying to run their own little empire.
So how was that as a the advisor with the uh, model, why do you think so many IT folks um, just go direct to the vendors without using an advisor?
I think a lot of it is just you go with whoever is top of mind. There's a ton of direct reps out there, and if you're an IT decision maker, you're an IT buyer. You've got the AT&T rep, the Lumen rep, the Comcast rep, all knocking at your door constantly, trying to take you out to lunch, trying to take you out to golf. They do a very good job of just constantly staying top of mind. And it's kind of the path of least resistance, I think. Many times it's the sort of traditional model. Back in the day, it used to be, nobody got fired for going with AT&T or nobody got fired for going with Cisco. It's everybody's kind of looking at well, this option is maybe appealing, but I'm just going to go the safe route, and buy through the direct team. But I think a lot of it is just staying top of mind. Um, and that's something that, we're a much smaller community, a much smaller group. Um, so I think there's a lot of work to be done, just sort of raising that awareness and doing a better job of staying top of mind.
That makes sense. So you also said your superpower is execution, not overthinking, just making the move. Uh, how did you develop this and where did this come from?
I think trial and error, and definitely something that my wife and business partner Ashley excels at too. So she's really sort of pushed me to nurture that as well. I think a lot of people have a business idea or they have something they want to execute, and then they workshop it to death and never execute on it. Um, I try to take the opposite approach. I try to give something a good hard look. And if it looks like something that I want to move forward with, I just start moving forward on it. And then maybe through that process of execution, that evolves, or maybe that idea even gets backburnered for a while. Um, but I think there's definitely a point where when you're trying to workshop an idea, you hit this wall where you don't actually know what you're talking about. You're not speaking from experience. You haven't done it. You haven't seen how it hits on the market, how your clients respond. And when you hit that wall, you should go execute. But a lot of times I see people pushing through that wall and now they're having these hypothetical conversations and they're shaping a product or a business around what ifs and maybe this will happen. And that's not a good way to drive or develop a business plan. You need to uh, develop your plan on hard facts and data. And then once you hit that wall, it's time to execute.
Got it. Um, I also loved what you mentioned about your practice of board meetings daily on walks with
Mhm.
your wife. Can you share how that came about and how that perspective changed the way you lead?
Yeah, so I mean, that came about really sort of as a product of designing the lifestyle we wanted. We didn't want to be waking up, feeling stiff every morning and low energy, so making, and sometimes it's a walk, sometimes we go mountain biking, sometimes we go hiking, sometimes we're paddling down a river. Uh, um, Incorporating being outdoors and physical activity into our daily routine was critical. And, where working on these businesses together. So it just sort of became our natural talking point of, hey, how did your meeting go this morning? Hey, how are we looking on executing on this? And then we sort of finalized or really just formalized it into, okay, this is where we should be having these business discussions. We realize that when we're in that environment where, we're moving, we're exercising, we're outdoors, the creative juices are flowing. We've taken ourselves out of the office environment. So we've got this sort of outside in perspective. We're able to see the forest through the trees. And it was just a much more productive environment for us than sitting around a conference room table, trying to solve these business challenges. So that has definitely become part of our routine and something that I would actually, attribute to our success as well.
I suppose that also leads into website tafinder.com. Can you tell us more about tafinder.com and how it makes IT folks' professional lives easier?
Yeah, absolutely. So, um, once you have established a relationship with a technology advisor, you now have this professional advocate who is, advocating for you with the vendors and helping you make these technology, directional choices. But, finding the right fit advisor can be just as challenging as finding the right vendor. So that's something that we're looking to address with TA Finder. These are all members of the Technology Advisor Alliance. So you know that their experience and their exposure to these vendors isn't limited to their own organization. They've got hundreds of advisors that they're collaborating with and sharing with. So they have this massive, you know, umbrella of experience with the vendors and firsthand experiences with implementation processes and how is their billing, working post sale and all of this. And then they've also signed a code of ethics that directs their behavior, basically a commitment to always do the right thing for their customers.
Cool.
And you can search on TA Finder by uh, specific expertise, or you can search by geography. So if you're really looking for someone who's local to you, someone you can go, sit down and grab a cup of coffee with. We make that very easy. There's an interactive map so you can see who's local to you and reach out to them. We also, allow you to filter by specific skill sets because not every advisor brings the exact same thing to the table. So if you want someone who's very heavy in cybersecurity, you can filter by that and see who is going to be a good fit. There's a profile for each advisor, so you can kind of get to know them a little bit, what their organization is about, their history, their, maybe verticals that they specialize in. And then you can reach out and form those relationships. And then we also offer consulting, free consulting services as well. So, Jim, if you came to me and said, hey, I looked through your website, there's a couple people that I'm interested in, but can you coach me? What other questions should I be asking? Like what else should I know as I'm evaluating these partnerships? So that's a component of that service as well.
Hmm. And if somebody would just like to reach out to you directly, what would be a good way of getting in touch with you?
So LinkedIn is a great way to get a hold of me. Just search Ryan Rowland, or email. I'm Ryan at adaptivadvisors.com. Those are probably the best ways to reach out to me directly.
So for listeners, if you're shopping for technology advisors, check out tafinder.com, or you can connect with Ryan on LinkedIn or via email. Check the show notes for his contact information. And once again, today's episode is sponsored by ManagedProspectingSystem.com, the only IT marketing system that helps IT folks, professionals that serve the industry, turn cold outreach warm and build pipelines that don't rely on referrals. Until next time, I'm Jim Punzenberger. Stay hydrated and caffeinated.